Welcome everybody to the latest edition of the Inside Track podcast with myself, Ryan Charlesworth, and as always, my great buddy, Glenda River Allen. Today, we've got an amazing guest. Graeme, how are you?
I'm good, thank you, Ryan. Really good. It's nice to actually, nice for me to be asked my opinion on things for a change.
I'm sure you have plenty, Graeme. So we'll see how many we can fit in over the next half an hour.
Okay.
For 4 minutes. Welcome aboard.
Yeah, welcome, Graeme. Graeme's normally the one grilling everyone else, aren't you, Graeme?
I am indeed. Yeah. It's
So
a bit
for
weird
everybody
being
out
on the
there-
other, bit weird being on the other side. So
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So for everybody out there, Graeme Hinde, welcome. I am really excited for this one, Graeme. You have been someone over the last 2 years that I feel has been absolutely massively supportive to this industry, not just through the pandemic where you've done even more than you normally do, but throughout your illustrious career, which I know I'm making you sound old now, Graeme, but you've been in this industry and been around the block more than once. So what I'd like to probably start with is give the guys a little bit of a whistle-stop tour of why I see you and Ryan sees you as a bit of an industry titan, and you know what you've experienced and what you're doing now with your work with LFX. That would be a really cool start.
okay. Well, I'll keep it brief because I know when you ask this question, quite often 10 minutes later you're wishing you hadn't. So to give you a bit of background, and I really will make it bullet point stuff. As a kid, I used to wear a caliper. At high school, I had a disease in my hips, so I couldn't do sport. So I was the one champing at the bit to do sport, you know. And so by the age of, I just turned 16 when I was told I didn't need the caliper anymore. So I then really got into sport. My mum was paying a mortgage on her own, and so I also needed to get a job, and I part-time. So I combined this desire to do stuff, sporty stuff, with getting a job in the local leisure centre, and that's how my career started. Really, I have to stress, you know, at the age of 16, I didn't want to be, work. I didn't see my career in a leisure centre. I thought I'd be a rock star or something like that. And in the shower, I am. So I then progressed really in my career, and again, I'm not going to bore you with all my roles. I just progressed. I worked public sector, private sector. My last real job, I used to work for Total Fitness, opening clubs, recruiting people, all of that kind of thing. And then when I left Total Fitness, I set up a marketing business. Actually, I'm qualified in marketing. I used to lecture in it, and so I started a marketing business. And to drum up interest in that, I hosted a networking event, and I thought, actually, this is what people want. Networking, not, marketing. Yeah, but networking. So that was in 2007. And I've not stopped since with LFX, basically.
Wow. So LFX is now how old?
Is it 15 years?
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
So
incredible.
you were right. I am really old.
Don't worry, Graeme. Not much older than us. So Glenn and me are in no position to take the mic. Just run us through in terms of, because LFX is a real mix of different things, from hosting events to training. And do you want to give us a run through what LFX itself does?
Well, LFX, to be honest, is quite simple. LFX has evolved, but really what I try and do is make the content. LFX is all about events, and we have a fantastic membership, predominantly leisure trust professionals, local authority professionals, and a smattering of others. And really it's about, I host events. They're a bit like chat shows. So I'll try and bring in interesting guest speakers, but the topics really have to be of benefit to the businesses of the people in the room. Yeah. We all know that, I tread carefully here. Last year, I could have spent a year talking about COVID and, how you should space your signs out and all that stuff, but I didn't. I thought, we touched on that, but it was more about having interesting content that was still relevant. So, for example, you know, marketing in uncertain times. Uncertainty is one of the biggest issues for consumers, but also we experienced it ourselves, didn't we, last year? When do we open? Yeah. So it's all about events that just, I always hope that everybody leaves with it, at least one nugget that they've written down that they're going to take back to work.
Yeah. And I've personally experienced lots of the LFX events and got to experience them a lot more during lockdown. And the community that you've built there is absolutely awesome. So well done on all of that, Graeme. And for the listeners out there, you know, that's something that you should check out. Graeme, I just wondered, with you being in the industry a long time, and you and I have had loads of good conversations about way back when we started and then where we're at now today. Is there, if you were doing a comparison of when you started and really early in your career and where we are now, what would you say were the top skills you needed then? And are they the same or different now? And if they are different, what would you say they are to be successful as a leader in this industry?
Ooh, well, I mean, I would look more at qualities rather than skills. I think when I started, my first job, as I say, was in a local public facility. So in those days, it really was about service. I can remember that, you know, people would actually say, we're not here to make profit, we're a service, you know. And obviously things evolve, different governments, different policies around leisure and public health. But the qualities remain the same for me. It is still about service. We all know that, quality of service. But it's not necessarily quite the same way of thinking. Then you were almost servants. I think now it's about professionalism, professional service. I also think another quality, the qualities really have remain the same. People, understanding people, treating people with respect, and listening is the other one. Listen to people and watch what they do. We have this great habit in our industry, I'm sure it's the same in all industries, of, oh, I tell you what you need to do there. Do a questionnaire, do a bit of market research, all of that kind of thing. And actually, I can't remember the quote, I'll drag it up in a minute. But you know, we just need to watch how people behave. Just watch how they behave.
Fascinating.
Watch how they come into a facility, watch what they do, watch how long they stay, watch whether they use the vending machine, you know, just observe, just watch people's behavior. Because if you ask them questions, if you'd asked me a few months ago when lockdown was on in the winter, last winter, will you go straight back to the gym when it's open? Absolutely right, I will. I couldn't wait to get out of my apartment, you know. Whereas other people probably would have not really known, not sure, don't know. So they would have just said no. And people don't always tell the truth. They don't even know what they're thinking half the time. Whereas if you watch people's behavior, you can quickly pick up. So qualities, I'll just repeat, you know, that service quality of professional service, the ability to listen and the ability to observe.
Just on that, Graeme, because you obviously work a lot of your work in the sort of public sector, and I guess when I first started into what the public sector is now, they're two different animals. They have changed significantly over time in terms of they are profit driven centres now, which they never used to be, but with a very much a service element. Do you think they've taken a real good move forward over the last sort of 15, 20 years? Because I mean, I certainly think I go to a club in Skipton, and the customer service and the friendliness, and it's a different vibe from what I probably got from a club 10, 15 years ago. And I think that's brilliant. But I think they've taken a lot of the private sector elements and brought that in, and it's just made them such better facilities overall.
Facilities, yeah. I think it's much easier to run a group of private clubs than public ones. I really do.
I think there's a lot less pressure on a public one. You've not. I mean, on a private one. Sorry, public one. There's a lot more groups involved. There's a lot more voices involved, isn't there? As the how it's run.
Yeah, and so when, for example, when competitive tendering came into the public sector, things changed drastically. Not necessarily for the good. I remember when I first worked in leisure, and there was a genuine community spirit in the local centres. There were people that ran clubs, volleyball clubs, all of that kind of thing in the sports hall. We find now a lot of sports halls lie empty all weekend, and I don't know. It just became very much about the bottom line and being competitive, and it was a race to the bottom. I think CCT in many respects. So, well, what have the public sector spins so many plates. Local councillor rings up. This happens. Local councillor rings up. Why is the litter on the playing field? Managers then got to deal with that. And then you can have so and so's upset about this. But you still got to be competitive, and you still got to earn money, and you still got, so they have so many plates to spin. And what I think would be much better would be if we had a government. I don't think we've ever had one that believes in our industry as a preventative medicine. And until we have that, we'll have this mishmash of public sector operators trying their hardest to do everything.
I think we're way off that, Graeme. No, that's the challenge. I think they've quite clearly stated their intentions.
Oh, yeah.
To not.
Well, it's quite sad, isn't it, that in the last 20 months, this was probably our biggest opportunity ever to put health, fitness, nutrition, lifestyle at the top of the agenda. Because let's be honest, the elephant in the room is, forget the other risk factors for COVID, but one huge one that we all know about is obesity. And they don't want to talk about it because it's difficult.
But not just for COVID. I mean, you look at the diabetes rates, the coronary heart disease rates, and I mean, I do a lot of work with Vitality Health now. I do that, and their four biggest things, they focus on the four biggest killers, which are things like lung disease, heart disease, diabetes, being overweight and diet, and you just think if our government put the same focus as what private companies say like Vitality and that are doing, you'd solve a lot. I would not necessarily solve, but you definitely reduce the cost towards the NHS and other services. But they're not willing to for whatever reason. I'm sure we'll never find out what the true reason behind their lack of interest in it is. But they certainly don't want to put the money where the mouth is. It's not even money; it's support. Not even willing to put the government support behind it. You know what I mean? They've got huge. I don't know. They're animals of business, aren't they? In terms of what they can achieve, government, if they really want to, but they're just not willing to put anything behind solving those problems, which is very, very strange to me. But
well, this leads us on, Graeme. You talk about preventive medicine. Yeah, don't know if many people out there realise that you also are very proactive in the mental health space, and obviously something that's also really close to my heart. I just wondered if you could tell people about your rationale for setting up MH1, what it aims to do, and how that could also help us in the industry.
Yeah, thank you. MH1, mental health first. MH1 really was a collaborative idea between myself, Julian Taylor at Matrix, and my close friend and colleague Lynn Briggs. And we together thought that initially, the idea was maybe we need to do a campaign, and Matrix were very keen. They're also, very interested and keen to drive mental health positively. And so we came up with an idea for a campaign, and I said, let's make it something bigger and make it, give it life and legs, etc. So So we came up with the idea of MH1. The idea really was for people in the industry to have a place to go, a safe place to learn. We're all learning. Even, I talk to clinicians, they're still learning about mental health and mental illness. And so the idea was that we would have a movement. We would have some free campaigns designed and created so that people could use them on their own social, especially if you're self-employed and you don't have a marketing budget, for example. So we wanted people to have stuff they can use on social media, great campaigns, which all related to the link between physical and mental well-being. So we did that. We're also now early next year we will launch the MHQ, which is a bit like a PARQ, but it's all about mental health. And it's
that's really exciting.
Yeah, it's much bigger though than bigger. Is that the right word? It's powerful. It will allow fitness employees to engage not just once and ask a few questions, but engage in a conversation with their clients about their lifestyle and how it positively impacts them or negatively impacts them around the mental health. So, and next year, Lynn will sort of take the reins at MH1 and drive it forward with Paula Litherland. And Paula is the one who I know you've met her, Glenda, and Paula will be.
Yeah.
Paula designed and created the MHQ with her colleagues at Edge Hill University. So it's tried, it's tested, and it's really exciting, and it'll be there for colleagues across the industry to make use of.
Because I think we definitely need to be doing more in terms, because it's the one thing we're very good at offering fitness, weight loss, all that sort of, but as an industry, I guess we don't understand it enough. If the psychiatrists and everyone else is struggling to get their head around it and really fully understand it, it's very difficult then to expect fitness professionals to suddenly be able to jump on this, because it's a huge thing that we all need to understand and to start implementing in our businesses. Absolutely. So I guess support things like this are vital for allowing fitness professionals to grow and go into that field, because it is a minefield. It's a very difficult area to work in.
Yeah, well, when I grew up, Ryan, with my mum taught Group X, and so and all of my life really, all I knew was her preparing for class. I can remember when my mum first started, and she used to have a box of vinyl records, and a class, honestly, and in a class, once she'd finished one routine, one record, one song, whatever you want to call it, you then have to run across, change it, put it back on, put the next one on, run back.
Do you remember where you could line them up and you could have like record just drop it?
Do you remember that? Yeah. So on some of them you could. Some of them she'd get it wrong. Shit, it's the wrong one.
That's
sorry.
Brilliant.
But the point I'm making is she used to come back home and she'd say, oh, the ladies really enjoyed it tonight. We had a great class. Oh, we had such a laugh and blah, blah, blah. And I'll be honest, I was young and I was an idiot. And I used to sort of sit there thinking, shut up, that kind of thing. And it's only as I've got older and as my mum got older and carried on, I began to realize actually she really is impacting their mental and emotional health in a great way. And then of course it made me look at the wider industry. And I think whatever you do in fitness, whatever your thing is, it starts in here. Think of the days when you think, I really can't be arsed going to the gym. But you do. You go, you drag yourself there, and 9 times out of 10 you say, I'm so glad I did that. I feel great. It's all in here. And whether you're an athlete, a bodybuilder, you do Zumba, it doesn't matter. The fact is that in here you might have doubts or you might be excited. I can't wait to go to the class. You go to the class, you do a fabulous spin class with Glenda, and you're buzzing afterwards. And there's no better feeling. And it's taken me a long time to realize that actually that is what we do. And I think forgive me, I'm waffling a bit, but we take it for granted. We take for granted. We're always looking at measurements. We're always looking in fitness. Oh, drop a dress size, do this, do that. Actually, it really is about how you feel.
But strangely, Graeme, it's not actually, although we measure that dress size or that extra inch or whatever, that's not actually quite often what the client's seeking. The client, it's what the client gets out of the back. It's the confidence. It's the fact they feel better, they feel healthy, they're able to do different things with their life. That's what the life-changing moment is. Not the fact they lose 2 stone.
That's quite
how great they look in that dress, how great they look in their new suit or whatever. That's the feeling that they actually get, and that is what we get paid for. That is what our industry is about. It's that mindset change. Sorry,
I was just thinking it'd be really fascinating because Graeme's met. Obviously, Graeme, you introduced me to Chris Loxley and people like that. But you could imagine if we let them loose in our facility for a couple of days, the kind of really short, sharp measurements that they could come up with, that we could show the customer about the distance that they're traveling, and some of the what you would usually thought were a bit more intangible, but now they can be tangibly measured, which would really help you to show the customer the difference that you're making.
Yeah, absolutely. And just on Ryan's point there, I interviewed a woman years ago, Ryan. I was asked to do some focus groups, and it was for a local authority. And it was all about their leisure experience. So I met a lady called Jean, and she told this story that was so powerful and so useful for professionals in our industry that I asked her if I could film her talking about it. And she said yes, and I've still got the recording. And interestingly, on your point, her issue was that she didn't want to, she used to go to Asda. She put that much weight on after a divorce. That's my gesture for putting weight on. And she put that much weight on that she would go to Asda after midnight. She said one of the best things that ever happened to me was 24-hour shopping because I could hide after midnight. Nobody had seen me. And then she decided she needed to get healthy. She needed to lose weight. She was sick of feeling crap. So she went to the local leisure centre and she sat in the car park crying because she was watching people going in and she thought, I don't belong in there. I'm going to look stupid. But the moral of the story is that she did do it. And she felt that good that she booked a holiday to New York with a mate. And she told me, I actually started going to Asda when it was really busy. And she was made up with that, strutting around Asda because she felt good. She'd not, she hadn't lost that much weight at that point. She just felt good.
It is amazing. That's why mental health is so important. Is we need to take that into consideration with what we do. It's I think people are so used to in our industry, we get results and you look great, but it's not. It's so much more to looking and feeling great than than just physically. It's the whole thing about when they ask women, isn't it? What body would you like? Either Cristiano Ronaldo that's chiseled like that, or the dad bod scenario, and the large majority are saying that dad bod, and you're sort of going, well, okay, well that's image, but for blokes they're striving for that. But a lot of the time, as long as they're happy in themselves and they come to it, and that's good for their mental health. They don't need to be that ridiculous image. Don't get me wrong, he's got an incredible physique, that man. But we just need to be really there. We just need to be where we want to be and where we feel comfortable. And that's what we do as an industry. And we've got to get over this fitness influencer and everything else that's striving for that ridiculous body, when 99% of us are actually mentally quite happy with having being healthy, being able to do the physical activities that we do, and feeling comfortable. And there is that difference, and that's why some PTs struggle with retaining clients and stuff, because they strive. They want every client to be that chiseled person, and 9 times out of 10, that's not what the person wants.
Absolutely spot on.
So just coming back to the industry a little bit, Graeme, obviously with your experience, what do you feel have been the sort of biggest changes over the last 18 months that you take away and go, okay, our industry's really moved forward. This is great to see. Would you say it's the way we've adapted and changed and been a lot more service orientated? How we've adapted to the sort of online stuff to take into account? Or do you not think we've
well,
done as well as we could have done?
look, being honest, I think people adapted exceptionally well, particularly my friends in the public and third sector. They had to, because they're being crawled all over by public health. Whether all the private operators did, I don't think they did. I went in a couple of gyms myself where, the only measures taken was a couple of bottles of spray and some blue roll. But for me, it's more about how different are we coming out of it? Have we improved? Have we? And I don't think we have, to be quite honest. I think we've gone back to the way we were. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I just don't really personally see any major positive changes. I think we've always been good, and I think we still are, but I've not seen anything. The only thing, two areas I think we would have anyway, but that were accelerated was technology.
Yeah.
Technology is where we, this training and stuff going on and issues going on that were going on in the 80s. So there's certain things that we just.
Do you think we'll be dragged into this metaverse? That's talking technology. All this VR and metaverse. Do you think the fitness industry will be dragged into?
No, I don't. No, I just, as I said, earlier on, I think just look, just observe, just watch what people are doing. I don't see people, again, treading carefully. Peloton to me, it was obvious it was going to.
Oh, absolutely. I said it from the start.
So overvalued. And then obviously we knew it was going to have a short shelf life for the amount of growth. And then we've seen this massive decline. Yeah. Graeme, just curiously though, when you say that, because that's what I love about you, is that you're always challenging us to be better in the industry. So when you say, and I think you're right, that I feel that our industry sometimes gets very upset about not seen as professional as maybe the medical profession or a physio or a doctor. And then you see some practice that you then have to say, well, maybe if we didn't do this, this and this, people would see us at the same level, a PT versus a physio or a chiro, and pay the same money. But we see some poorer practice. What would you say that you would love to have seen that we did out of the back of COVID when you said, that we haven't done? I mean, technology aside, what would you have liked to have seen happen after what we've been through? What do you think we could have done that was an opportunity?
Again, I just think, forgive me, the problem is we need to accept what we are. It's a difficult question for me, that one, because I think our thinking is completely wrong as an industry. We're obsessed with having an overarching body that everybody goes to ask questions and permission and standards and all this, that, and the other. And yet the bigger percentage of our industry runs quite happily without that. So do we need that? Do we really need that? Why?
I think the challenge that you have there is that you have UK Active, which gives the perception that they are our industry body, but then on the flip side, don't deliver necessarily what an industry body should. So they're not our industry body, and they're quite open and say they're a trade body working for their members and so on, and that's fine. But then on the flip side, they they give out the perception that they're fighting for the whole industry and everything else. And you sort of going, I think you're right. I don't think we need an overriding body to run health. I don't. And I also don't think UK Active should do what they do.
I suppose what I'm saying to Glenda's question is that what I would like to see come out of all the last 2 years and probably a bit longer is we rely generally, not our industry, generally, we rely too much on logic. We rely too much on common sense in terms of business decisions. Well, that's always worked, so let's do it. But actually, has it? And I'll give you a good example about following logic versus being creative and completely starting afresh. Imagine if in 2004 you'd gone to Nokia and you said to Nokia, if us three went to Nokia and said, we've got this great idea, right? And we've drawn it and it's going to look like this. And what it does, you can make calls on it, but you can also send emails, messages, take photographs, take videos. We're going to have loads of apps on it and blah, 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 blah. It's just completely rewriting the rules around mobile phones. They'd have said, doesn't make sense. People want a phone. It's illogical. It's blah, 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 blah. And I think, I read lots of stuff, as we all do, and I see people with well-meaning, with lots of logical ideas about, why don't we amalgamate this? And well, no, why don't we use the last 2 years to say, well, perhaps it would be better if we did this. Perhaps it would be better if we stopped thinking the same way we have for the last 30.
I thought that's the way we were going. To be fair, I thought at one point, Graeme, that was the industry had made us start to think outside the box. COVID had. And we started looking at all these different options. And I genuinely thought that we were going to see this nice 18 months, 2 years of sudden expansion, new ideas, great acting. But it like you say, we've gone back, since we've opened it, we've got steady again. It's gone back to the same thing. We haven't actually taken all those exciting ideas and the progress we were making. Even look at Peloton. I mean, I know it's obviously crashed, but it was great to see suddenly you had new ideas and new ways forward. But it's not really gone anywhere. You're right. It seems to have stalled, and everyone's gone, "Oh, we're back open. Let's just carry on what we were doing." Same marketing ideas, same offers, everything's just gone back to where we were.
I think the challenge that we have, though, as an industry, you look at products out there, if you call us a product at all, I know we're a service, but we also have products. The average product, like a phone, it's instant gratification. If you purchase it, you get instant love, affection, feedback that's like, yeah, this phone's really cool, it works. Whereas we do have that one challenge where what we do is not instant gratification. And I think it goes back to Graeme's point. How can you make a customer feel that there is some form of reward before they see the physical? And I don't know if we're deliberate enough about that. Because if you're going to base it on results, you may as well, that's going to fail. Because we know that the average customer is never going to get that in a very fast amount of time. And the challenge now is the consumer wants everything yesterday. Because we're in that instant gratification society. And I think that's the challenge in the fitness industry. I really do. And that's why we only still have under 20% in a gym.
I tell you, it's interesting, that stat, though, because I know they said it's 20%, well it's 15%,
whatever it is.
But no one ever says what the actual true percentage in terms of people exercising is. Because obviously a lot of people running, a lot of people playing football, golf, tennis, whatever it is. So it'd be interesting to see what that true stat is in terms of how physically active we are. I mean, I'm sure there's a stat out there.
But Graeme's point is so valid, because the biggest companies in the last decade were all companies that when people heard their idea, they were like, are you serious? Like Uber, everybody slagged that off, saying that will never work. The big one, Airbnb, they never got their funding for so long because people kept saying, you're mad. Nobody's going to want to rent out a room in their house. And
Yeah,
it's like what Graeme said, like, what is the next big thing going to be in fitness, and who's going to be smart enough to see it before the rest?
yeah, and that doesn't necessarily have to be a product, or it might just be a way of doing things. I think one thing I would say, Ryan, you just made me think there was back to your question, Glenda. What would I like to have seen come out of this? And one thing that I think we all would benefit from as an industry would be we gather and use data a lot more effectively.
Yeah.
If we had been able to say last year, and I'm not blaming anyone because we're all part of the same industry, if we'd been able to say to government last year that X amount of people enjoy their training 3 times a week, we're not good at it. We've not got used to collating data. You know, some people ask a few questions and ping a few surveys out, but what I'm on about is the consumer. We don't focus enough on the consumer. And as you said, Glenda, if we had more consumer behavior specialists advising us, which beggars belief why we don't anyway, but if we had more Chris Loxleys of this world advising us, observing, watching, talking, listening, then we would have data that might have helped our industry a lot more last year.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a few more things coming out. There's that Keep Me IO, isn't there? That's come out. Is it Ian
Milan?
That's it. I mean, I went through his presentation. Very, very interesting program in terms of working out customer insights and so on. So I guess it's coming, but it's not enough of it. And you're right. If we'd have had all that data, how much powerful would that have been?
Yeah, I agree. But even looking, I mean, I know I'm not based in the UK anymore like you guys, but even in the Channel Islands, I feel like there is this complacency in our industry, though. And you're a marketeer, Graeme, but I feel like without the fear factor of COVID, switching it about what we can do to help people as part of the prevention strategy for COVID, we didn't even jump on.
Yeah.
We never jumped on that. We just basically, I don't know why that is, because that would have been a brilliant marketing message to get people. I know most people right now are more bothered about not getting COVID than their weight loss, funnily. So it's a more powerful thing for people right now. And sometimes some of the biggest messages are off the back of fear, but switching it. And the fear was out there, so we could have done something with that. And I just don't think we take on board, as you say, Graeme, a bit of thinking out the box. Now, I'm very conscious, Graeme, that you only had 40 minutes and you've gave us so much to think about. But I want to ask you one last question. If you were going to write a book for the modern day fitness professional, right? Because it's needed, buddy. What would you call it? What would be the biggest takeaway that you would hope someone would get entering the industry right now? What would be the advice you would give?
I'd call it put your shirt on. Because I see far too many PTs. The profile picture is shirtless, and it makes me feel nauseous. It's so embarrassing. Yeah. I would hope you are in decent shape, mate. You know, put your shirt on, stop being a clown. And I think the takeaway from it would be that fitness should be enjoyable. Not, as soon as you see that shirtless photo or the posy, pouty photo, I think a lot of people, it might appeal to young people, and that might be your audience, but generally, so put your shirt on and be what the book would be called. And it would be all about finding something you enjoy, whether that's walking, whether that's running, cycling, swimming, Zumba, Les Mills, whatever it might be, because to me, it relates all the way back to what's in here. And if you enjoy what you do, because it's hard to enjoy the gym. It's hard to enjoy.
Well, I think that's absolutely right, Graeme. And you mentioned that, Graeme, you're really going back to that gratification thing I mentioned, where, if we changed the goals or got people to think about values more than goals, maybe we would then get some more success. Because if it's just about valuing that you're doing something to protect your health rather than look like Adonis, we might not get so many unhappy customers that actually will never get that, whatever it is you want to call it, the perfect bod. Or I think that there's something in that. And I think that's really nice feedback. You know, actually, what is your values? If it's to enjoy something, find it and just do lots more of it.
Yeah. Look at Tyson Fury, heavyweight champion of the world, not got, you know, a ripped Adonis-like physique, but he's brilliant at what he does. And so it
hands
isn't
like
all...
shovels. That's probably why.
yeah. And he's 6'9", but apart from that, yeah. But you know, it just proves, I think, that it's about doing what you enjoy and doing what you're good at, and putting your shirt on.
I'm going to name this podcast just for you, Graeme. Put your shirt on. So I'm going to put that on the headline for you. So just quickly, obviously, if people want to get in touch with LFX, do they go onto your website, find you on LinkedIn? What's the best way to?
LinkedIn, probably. Yeah, LinkedIn. Yeah.
So we'll put your link on the end of this podcast so people can give you a shout as well, Graeme. So I appreciate your short time today. So thank you ever so much for jumping on. Really appreciate it. Glenn has been raving about you, so you didn't disappoint. So thank you ever so much for that. Have an awesome day, and we'll catch you again soon. But appreciate your time.
Thank you both. Really enjoyed it.
Graeme, thank you so much for coming on today. It's been an absolute pleasure, and keep doing all that you're doing. It's very much appreciated, and I think the work that you're doing with MH1 is super exciting, and I think the industry now needs that. What do you call it again? The actual questionnaire. What's
the MHQ? Yeah.
MHQ. Yeah, I think that's going to be a real step forward in our industry. So thank you, Graeme, and thank you to the team that are working on that.